Hello, today we are going to talk about batteries. Batteries like Milwaukee's, DeWalt, it could be also Makita's, it could be Bosch, it can be Parkside, whatever type of batteries that we have, and even batteries not for power tools. I'm talking about power tools there, but it could be true for any batteries. Whenever you have a battery that is rebuilt or that you have revived, like this one we did in a previous video, or maybe something that you have bought second hand, or one that you found back in your shed and you didn't remember and you don't know how good it is. Of course, on such battery you have indicators like this one saying, okay, it's full. So you can say, oh, it's good, it's full, it's good. That's true. It can be good, but will it hold charge? Will it be good over time? Is it going to be really a good battery compared to another one that's maybe a bit in a better shape, that has better cells, or cells in a better shape inside? That's what we are going to find out today. I will walk you through the process I used to test those batteries and the material I used to do so that we can really get not a feeling about how good the battery is, but really something where we can have a figure that we can use to compare that battery to another one that will help you to again understand the health of your battery and take decision if you have to, in terms of usage, in terms of maybe going with another one, buying new one, or whatever. So let's start with the material we're going to use for doing that. I'm going to use that device that is coming with all those accessories. I will explain you that. So this is a battery tester from the brand Atorch. It's a DL24p. It comes with all those accessories when it's shipped to you. It doesn't come with a case like this one, which is something I printed myself with my 3D printer. I will link the model in the description. This is something I got from Printables. It's not at all necessary. It's just nicer to have a case because when they deliver it to you, it's bare, a PCB with the buttons that are there on that. Again, can be good enough to work with. I had the opportunity to print a case, which makes it a bit nicer. So this is the device itself. It comes with power supply. This little tool that you can plug in there, and on which there are different type of USB plugs, so that you can test also any kind of battery that could be plugged with those type of connectors. Okay. And finally, it comes with temp cable that you can plug, and I barely use it, to be honest. Okay, I prefer to stay close and not rely on that. When we are talking about battery, you better be safe. And those leads, which I used quite a time, but which are not so convenient for what we are doing. So we are going together to build new ones, especially for that type of power tool batteries. Those ones just plug like that. Two per slot, and then afterward you can use the crocodile clips to plug them. But as you can see on our power tool batteries, sometimes it's not really convenient. So we are going to build a new one together, and we'll go through step by step how to test this battery. To replace those leads, I will use some silicone wire, which is much more easier to manage and much more supple. And the idea is to do the same type of connection on one side, so that you can plug in there, and another one for the batteries and all type of batteries. So for that part, regarding the batteries, I will use that type of connector, that fits well into there. You can see. Like that, we can really have a good connection, and it's not going to move during operation. So that's good, and that's something that I can reuse in all other kind of batteries. If I take the DeWalt, it's going to work the same. Just plug my my connector there, and it's fitting well. That is for the connection of the battery. Now I wanted to, and I thought I had the same type of connector for this part on the device, and yes, I have. I have two sizes. This one, which is way too big, it's not fitting in, and this size, which is way too small. So it's not gonna. I mean, it can fit, but yeah, I don't like it. So either I wait and get the right size, or I don't wait because I'm not patient. And I will start from this, which is the round thing, and snip it on the side and make it as a, as a hook like that. In fact, I already did on that one, as you can see, and it's fitting really well. Really fitting good. So now I will do the same for the other one. Of course, if you do have the right size, that's better than doing that. Okay, so as you can see, it's fitting well inside. Okay, it's not so bad. So that's it for the preparation. We have our two wires. Again, this is not something that is a must-have. Huh? This is nice to have. If you have the other plugs that are coming with this device, they are good enough. It's just that you're gonna have to put something inside there so that you can clip the crocodile pinched on it. So yeah, it's so much easier to just go like that. And to say now I have, be careful not to touch them afterwards. Now I have something that is, quite robust, and this can be connected. Okay. This battery have a limit of voltage under which they won't be recharged anymore. So this is a 5S type of battery. As we saw in the other video, there are 5 banks, not 5 cells, but 5 banks of cells, okay? And each of those have a minimum voltage of 3.2 volt, that if it goes below, then it will be not charging using, the regular charger, because in fact the regular charger and the BMS that is inside, the electronic board, is checking the status of the battery, and if it's too low, it considers that it might have an issue and stop to load it. So we don't want to go below. As I said, we have 5 banks, so 5 times 3 or 3.2 leads us to something like either 15 to 16. I want to be conservative, so this is why I put this is what I put 15.5. So it's going to be the limit. So these are really the parameters you have to take into consideration if you want to do that kind of test. Make sure that you are in CC. Check what type of amperage you want to draw each time. 1 is okay. It's really slow and conservative. You can go 1.5, 2. Okay, further you can, of course, but okay, I don't want to be brutal with those batteries, so I prefer it to be slow but good. And then the cutoff current. Okay, now we are ready to go. Everything is set up. So let's look at what we see. Everything is ready. We have the program CC. We have the amperage that will be drawn, 1.5 amps, and the cutoff voltage at 15.5 volt. Once everything is done like that, we are ready to go. we plug the battery in the right terminal. So of course this is the plus, so goes into the plus. And you see, with those wires, it's much easier to do it than it was with anything else. What can we see? We can see that the voltage for the battery is already in, so 20.46. Usually it's around this area, 20.46, 25, 20.5 I mean. So we are ready to go, everything is set. What we have to do is just push the go button. We see that it's on. Now we see the amperage that is drawn, 1.5, moving. And then we will have to let it go. It will drain the battery slowly at this rate, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours, depending. So it's quite a long time, but you have nothing to do. You just let it sit, and not so far from you in case of. But apart from that, you don't have to do anything with it. I usually start that and have something else planned on the side. So now we will let it go, and I will find you back when it's done. Okay, so sometime later, to be exact, 2 hours 46 later. So you can see that's taking quite a time. Huh? We've got the result, and what is interesting us is really that line, which is named capacity, where we can say that the capacity that has been measured for our 5 amps hour battery is 4.165 amp hour. So it's in milliamp hour, but okay, you do the multiplication and you've got those 4.1. So 4.1 compared to 5 is not so bad. So we are above the 80% of the battery, which is good. This battery is not new. This one has been revived, as I've shown in this previous video. I did the same type of work on it, so that it can be usable. I've used it since then, and so looking at this result of 4.1 means that we still have quite a good and healthy battery. It will go down with time, for sure, but that's the principle of those batteries. But again, more than 80%, anything between 80 and 90%, I would say, for something that is not new is quite good. Over 90, of course, you've got that when you have got the battery fresh from the store. Below, between 80 and 70, I would say is still okay. Seeing some sign of use for sure. And below 70, then you begin to see something that most of the time, to my experience, will go down more and more and become at some stage not usable. So that's where you will be left with two possibilities: either put new cell in a dying battery, which can still be something quite good, and we'll do that in a further video, or dispose of it if you don't want to go that route. So once it's done, of course, your battery will be completely depleted. As you can see, it's blinking red there. So it means that the battery now needs to be recharged, which is what is expected, of course, but can be recharged because that's again one of the things. If you let this device do its job, sometimes it can go beyond the protection that there is inside and the BMS, and really get your battery in a state where you cannot charge it. Please keep that in mind and keep the voltage stop not too aggressive. So what I've shown you today can be applied to any type of battery. We saw that this is going in, of course, all the Milwaukees, all the DeWalt, all the Makitas that I can try on my side. For other batteries, as long as there is something that can be, pinched like that, it will be okay. If this is not the proper one for your battery, then you can maybe have an adapter. If the battery is different or not taking that kind of stuff, of course, this is quite easy to either build an adapter or use something that can adapt to the battery, where you can plug your leads. What is important also to see is that what I've shown you today is a protocol of test. I'm sure we can argue about the proposed value, the 1.5, maybe even the voltage stop. You could be more aggressive. You can go 2 amps, 3 amps, maybe to go faster, because yeah, 2 hour 46 is quite long to get to this result with 1.5. The voltage trigger also could be lower. Again, this is the safe side I chose to show you, and that I use also every time. What I think is important is consistency. What I mean by that is that this protocol, you can adapt it, you can be faster, stronger, or whatever, but you should stay with the same protocol every time, because what is interesting is to measure this battery, that one compared to another one. Like that, I know which of them is better than the other, which of them can be used in heavy duty, maybe some which is dying or what can be used on lighter tool that will not draw a lot of power, and so that will still be able to use them in a good way, maybe a lamp or something like that that is not so much demanding as a grinder or things like that. So if you have the protocol that you use every time, you can even put a marking on your battery saying, okay, this is battery 01, 02, whatever, and have a file where you can keep the measurement and sometimes, test them again. Of course, I don't test my battery every 2 days, but, maybe once in a year you can do so, or if you have suspicion that something is not going well, you can test it using that, record the result in your file. Like that, you have a follow-up of what's going on with the batteries, and as time go by, you will be able to, again, see the evolution and compare one battery to another, giving you all the visibility you need. This is also really useful when you revive the battery, change the cell in a battery, change the BMS or whatever, to check that everything is fine on the battery. That's the best way to do. Of course, you can use it, and that's probably the easiest test. Use it as much as you can. But if you want to, again, have a comparison point towards your other battery, that type of test, whatever the protocol you choose, but a constant and systematic protocol would be the best way to go, so that you have something that is consistent. I will stop now, keep it short. There are many things we could discuss about, again, the measurement or other way to test this, but what I wanted to share with you was really that simple way of doing, which I think is quite simple to implement, simple to do with not a lot of material, and you have something, again, that is repeatable and predictable. If you have any remarks regarding that way to work, please leave them in the comment. I would be happy to exchange with you and maybe better up my protocol so that I can do even better. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you've learned something. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't done it. This will help to bring more video, and hopefully you will enjoy them. Thanks again for watching, and see you soon.